maybe I've got it backwards.
Oh, you got it perfectly right. Just unexpected calls. It's a good sign, actually. We're getting a lot of traction from New York right now. So,
oh my gosh, yes.
Bess, we are live on Facebook. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Fantastic.
So Bess Dickson is joining us from wow, guys, give me a fresh start here. Briggs Freeman Sotheby's in Dallas, Texas. And I could not be more honored to actually host her in her childhood living room, Bess. So tell me a little bit about the house that's behind me here.
It is a magical sort of place. I mean, just the drive to it, it helps you detox. No matter what your stresses are for the day, by the time you land in the front door of literally a home that's designed to frame the outdoors and bring the outdoors in every room, it's really a magical place. It's like the ultimate treehouse, actually. I mean, really, I mean, because it's on pilings.
Yep,
it's on stilts. It's on pilings. Will be more politically correct. But so literally, it's literally and figuratively a treehouse. It's a dream house treehouse. I don't know.
Dream house treehouse. I love it. So for all of our Sotheby's agents tuning in from around the world today, and I know you're all out there waving hello. Bess is a phenomenal colleague of ours based out of Dallas, Texas, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself and how she came to choose Sotheby's and what she's doing over in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Wow. Well, thank you. Sotheby's, I got to Sotheby's about 2 years ago. And it was a thrill when I got the call, because like all Sotheby's, it's kind of an invite only cool kid club. And I was thrilled to make the cut, so to speak. And I've never looked back. And it's such a blessing because all of y'all are very much aware there's full-time pros and then there's everybody else. And Sotheby's is nothing but a fantastic ecosystem, of full-time professionals. So it's a breath of fresh air, and
it really got
enough challenges.
It's a big family too, and we all really genuinely put our heart and soul into what we do. I mean, even these interviews, Bess, when I have the privilege and honor to help your parents sell your childhood home, I mean, what better exposure than to bring everyone on live? And you've had a chance to watch some of the videos from agents all over the country talking about architecture and mid-century modern. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts and feelings as you watch from afar.
It's fantastic. It just proves that Sotheby's agents generally actually almost to a man. We're doing this really because we have a passion about people and about properties. And whoops, we get to have grocery money in the process. But
now again, yeah.
and an emphasis on the professional. We know our stuff and we love it.
I don't know.
And we're curious to know more.
Yeah. We had spoken privately last week, and I think it's so interesting. I grew up, my father took us on these grand adventures, touring homes and neighborhoods my whole life. And I actually grew up, my grandmother's home was a prairie style home, very much in the fashion of Frank Lloyd Wright. And it was sprawling on 16 acres. And so this has been a deep passion of mine since I was wee. And, you had talked about how probably coming across the architectural drawings of Dwayne Stark and Neil Schweitzer back in the day, the actual architectural drawings of the home that you grew up in with their little scribbled sketches and notes.
Yes. Don't do this, but let's do this. Yeah.
So tell me, like, how did that inspire you growing up in such a beautiful masterpiece of a home?
It was really just amazing because just think about it. We moved there right before my 12-year-old birthday. And so we're in the house. Now that I'm older, I realize, wow, my parents were insane because we had moved in maybe 3 weeks barely when they said, yes, I could have a slumber party at the house.
Oh, fun.
And of course, 12-year-old, you're at that tender age where you're trying to figure out what it means to be a teenager. And so what a treat to have all my friends drive up. And when you drive up to the house, it lends itself to be whatever your imagination is open for it to be. If that makes any sense, maybe not.
It entirely does. You have to feel it in person.
Right. So for 12-year-olds, especially 12-year-old girls, what are we reading? We're reading like Wuthering Heights and all these other. And so as my friends are coming up the stairs, and here's this 2-story glass wall and this door opens, they're like, oh my gosh, Bess, you've moved to a castle. And then of course the next day when they discover that there's, this really cool river, and we can go fishing and we can go hiking, and we might see deer, and we might see turkey, and we might see bobcats or cougars, but I'm saying it, or brown bears. I mean, it's just like totally castle.
Absolutely. It definitely has that childhood wonder feel to it. And I cannot wait to do a lifestyle video in the home after the stay-at-home order lifts here, because I keep picturing like these little boys having wooden sword fights, very Peter Pan, Mark Twain. I mean, to be right there with the little Ikalakahatchee River in the backyard flowing through it, it's kind of like this little wonderland, and it's so close to downtown Orlando. You wouldn't even know, but it's like you have your own forest and fortress to play. It's pretty fantastic.
And then you can also, I mean, and of course that's the backyard.
Yes.
You walk out the front yard and you hear the whinnies and neighs of all your local neighbors that happen to be on 4 legs.
Yes. Equestrian friendly community on 4 acres. Absolutely beautiful. And I believe if you don't want to store your personal horse on your own property, they actually have stables across the street. So you could actually house your horse across the street if you wanted to. So it really is just a paradise. And, you can't quite tell from the picture of me here in the living room, but what people aren't seeing is there's actually a 2-story loft here. So these glass windows go straight up the 2nd story, and your master bedroom just has this expansive view over the backyard. And it's a really fascinating house, and the interior too leads to a lot of imagination and wonder. What was your favorite room in the house growing up?
Favorite room in the house? Well, probably exactly what you were just describing, going up the magical spiral staircase, and then going across well, depending on which book I was reading and which frame of mind I was in, across the pirate plank, or across that really cool bridge that goes between what you're speaking of, the owner's oasis upstairs, out to your private. It's essentially almost like a 4th story deck, where all your land is yours as you survey.
Absolutely.
and to go up there and sit with mom and dad watching a sunset. I'll tell you, if you are a astronomer wannabe, or an astronaut, or I wish I was an astronaut but I never will be person, anything space related, the best place to watch space shuttles take off is from that deck, because it's just at the right height, and literally you feel the birds when a shuttle takes off. The birds in the trees let you know when it's taken off, because all of a sudden they start moving and rumbling. So all of a sudden the birds start scattering, and then you feel the rumble, and then boom, right above the trees is this amazing arc plume of white, and there goes the shuttle. So I guess that's why it was my favorite place.
I love that.
Yeah, sunsets, stargazing, and plus, since there's very little, because you are surrounded not only by the 4 acres of the property, but also by the county park that's right behind it across the river, which is cool, because so that technically you have like 30 acres, but you only have to pay property taxes on the park.
That's a good point.
Right. So there's very little light pollution. So stargazing, pretty incredible.
And for anyone tuning in from around the country or around the world, Orlando's a really fascinating place, because what Bess speaks to, we have the Space Coast and all the shuttle launches just 30-40 minutes, depending on traffic, down the road over on Space Coast and Cocoa Beach. You can really get to just about anywhere in the state within 2 to 3 hours. Whether you want to go to the Gulf Coast, crystal clear blue waters, deep sea fishing, or if you prefer the action and activity of the Atlantic coast, it's just 30-40 minutes away on that beach, great surfing. So you also have access and amenities to downtown Orlando, where you have Orlando City Soccer Club, the soccer stadium, the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center for an off-Broadway show. There's just so much going on, and all within a short drive, not to mention the Disney theme parks, of course.
Absolutely.
Did you go to Disney a lot growing up, or
Oh,
Universal? On your
that's
time?
funny you should mention that. Okay, so I'm old.
We're not that
Universal
old.
Universal was a new thing, and it kind of happened after I was already gone. But you know how it's funny? We all have our normals,
Mhm.
right? I did not realize Disney was such a big thing until I moved away. Like I never saw a Disney commercial. I didn't know Disney had commercials until I moved away. I'm like, oh, look at that, because it. Rocking Horse Road is so close to Disney that having uh, uh, a Florida pass, if
Mhm.
you are a Florida citizen pass, Floridian pass, uh, we regularly, if we got our chores done and we got our homework done after dinner in the summertime when they're open until midnight, right?
Mhm.
We'd hop in the car after dinner and go to Disney, which is
Disney.
sublime. Because as you know, Miranda, you get there at
Yeah.
6, and all the tourists that got there at 6 a.m. are
Or
tired and
leaving.
leaving.
You
You
have
get there
space
at
to
6
yourself.
p.m., all rested, right?
Mhm.
And you ride the rides until they shut you down. And so I thought that's how everybody spent their summers, was just going to Disney and riding until you got tired. And I mean, it was a
What
treat.
a childhood. You definitely had this magical piece of history, not only in where you grew up, but the place that you grew up in. And I want to tell everyone too, not everyone's familiar with Dwayne Stark or Neil Schweitzer. And I want to make sure they understand the architectural significance of what we're standing in, or what we're displaying here. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright obviously was the father of modern day architecture, and
Mhm.
he had a lot of understudies and proteges. And Neil Schweitzer and Dwayne Stark were two of those proteges who actually helped him build Florida Southeastern College here in the Lakeland area. They studied directly with him, and were influenced by him. And you can definitely see the details in this property specifically. But then also Neil Schweitzer and Dwayne Stark developed and designed our Orlando Public Library
Mhm.
downtown and the Orlando International Airport. So
Mhm.
it's a really big piece of history here. It's not just purchasing a home on 4 acres that's equestrian friendly and merges the outdoors with the interior, but it really is kind of a legacy home that obviously I'm sure your parents want to see a sense of stewardship and caretaking in regards to the next chapter of this home's life.
That would be
Um,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And it's well, if anyone's flown into and out of the Orlando airport, uh, you practically, yes, just as you're alluding to, Miranda, you've been in the Stark House, because it has the same open area. It has that strikes that same balance of inside outside. It's and somehow the spaces as they soar, they don't feel vacant or cold. I guess it's the right proportion, and of course that's a gift that they have to figure out that, because I certainly could not. And we've all been in some homes where you're like, we may be a little bit too open here.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little commercial building-ish in this
Yes.
home, and that's not the case for the Stark House at all. It
No.
has a great sense of proportion.
It really does. And it has this cozy warmth to it that every room, and that's probably a lot of your parents' attribute to it, because they've done such a great job taking care of it, both
Mhm.
inside and out. It just has a sense of love and just a homey feel. Like everyone should have Thanksgiving there, right? It just brings you in and draws you in to the core and essence of what it is. And your mother has actually done a spectacular job with the outdoor landscaping and her
Mhm.
bromeliad garden. And there's a full little garden off of the carport. So it really is open to the person with the green thumb or aspiring green thumb
Mhm.
to kind of have that lifestyle. And the entertaining space is just sprawling out by the pool. You have that little gazebo, great little reading nook.
Mhm.
There's just so much possibility. If you were to come back today and spend some time in the home, how would you spend a half an hour or an hour? What would you be doing?
Half hour, an hour. Ooh.
Or the
Uh,
whole day? Let's be
well,
honest. Your parents
definitely,
aren't there. You get the place to yourself. What are you going to do with your time?
definitely start off with a morning coffee up on that crow's nest top deck. That would be fantastic. Work my way down to just a quiet little hike through the acreage. Probably keep my book with me and a picnic blanket, and then sit on what we all believe is an old Indian burial mound that's in the back. That's really cool next to the
Yeah.
river. sit there, because that little spot, I guess, has really good spirits in. Anyway, sit there and watch the river float by, and read a book for a little bit, and then come up and go for a swim, because there is a pool there. I mean, there
is gorgeous pool.
Right. And probably finish the evening with dinner in the screened gazebo that is surrounded by bamboo and trees, and it's its own little world in and of itself, which is a lot of fun. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And on a side note, everyone's talking about how to be more green and more aware. That's where I believe Stark and Schweitzer were ahead of their time. Yes. That house is green extreme before it was green cool. Before it was cool to be green. I mean, it was built in 1976. It was built like a tank. Mm-hmm. Think of how many hurricanes it's been through. I have experienced many hurricanes in that house, and it doesn't move. They sided it just so that all that entire spectacular glass back is essentially protected from the windstorm. So you get to watch the storm progress, which is fierce and awesome and humbling, but from a spot of safety. But going back to the green part,
solid concrete construction. So
absolutely, yeah. And so and also the way they sided it too, it collects breezes. It is shielded from the sun. I mean, it sips electricity. I mean, your bill is nothing, and that's without any sort of solar power, anything. I mean, it does have its own well, so you have your own water system. It's pretty fun.
I love your insights, just hearing the passion and the memories that, you've had there. And hopefully that I can't wait for the next proprietors to come on and really value the home the way that you and your family have and carry on that legacy. Is there anything else you want us to know before we let you on with your day? I know your time is so valuable, and I really appreciate it.
I have a contract I got to get executed. Yeah, multiple offers.
Congratulations.
In 48 hours, we had like 20 showings, and had final and best yesterday. And
is that the beautiful home that you shared with me on Facebook?
Yes, with the $250,000 value pool. Who builds, bless their hearts, who builds a $250,000 pool, attach it to a $450,000 house, and then say, we've changed our mind, we want to move. Anyway.
Here's the Sotheby's life.
There you go. So yes, I'm thrilled for them. And the buyers, by the way, you were talking about earlier about your buyers calling you from New York.
Yes.
These buyers, they've only seen it by way of Zoom virtual tour, by way of the Matterport, by way of course, our Sotheby's marketing. They are buying it sight unseen in person and they live in Washington State right now.
Isn't that incredible? That's how everything's happening right now. All of my properties that are going under contract are buyers from LA, New York. It's all sight unseen. It's incredible the way that the industry is just shifting and adapting, and people are seizing the opportunity left and right.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Yeah. I mean, as long as everybody continues to feel like they don't want to live in a tent, we're good.
Exactly. I definitely think that your parents' property will likely transfer into the hands of a caretaker, probably from a different state. We're probably going to see someone come in from, either Chicago, Illinois, or somewhere in California who really appreciates and values the architectural significance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would even say, maybe even like you've got not to profile because that's illegal in real estate, but just to simply say there's a lot of people that value the outdoors that live in Oregon and Washington State. Speaking of Oregon and Washington State, their minds will be blown. And what's really cool about this house too, of note, is that you can't build a house like this in this location in anywhere in Florida ever again. It's like the ultimate legacy house because of the new Florida laws. You can't build as close to the riverbanks because they say it disrupts the river, which is Schweitzer and Stark, of course, being very green, being tutored by Frank Lloyd Wright. Were very much feeling they were stewards of the land when they built stuff. Again, why is it on stilts? Because it is that close to the river.
It
So,
really is, but it's
you
never, water would never even come up to it. It's risen so high up off of the landscape that you would never have an issue with the water rising.
Now, that does not mean that there were times when I was little that I would fall asleep with all the windows and doors open, listening to the pitter patter of Florida rain, which is just intoxicating
Magical.
symphony of its own, and wake up in the morning. So I fall asleep with the pitter patter of rain, waking up in the morning, hearing the roar of a river under my feet.
That is
Amazing. Amazing. So
it's
you
like
look
something out
out.
of a storybook. It's like it should be its own Disney fairy tale,
It
really.
kind of is. Yeah. I mean, it literally, you wake up and it's kind of a boathouse, but not, because it's not going to move. But it's
So
it's
if anyone's
inexplicable.
watching out there today and you're curious, you want to share in this wonder and this awe and experience it firsthand, please do reach out. You can call or text me 407-340-7016, and we'll go ahead and schedule your personal private tour. Obviously, this is a home that we cherish with a lot of love and respect. So please feel free to make that connection and call if this is something that you think you'll fall in love with. I'd love to show you in person because there's so much more than just this beautiful living room. So Bess, thank you for your time. I'll be sure to tell your mother and father hello. I'm going to be speaking with them here in a little bit today, but thank you for sharing this day with me. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out, because again, we are part of that Sotheby's family, and all referrals are important, and I will always treat your family like mine.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye.